Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome back in to Venting with Us. Pop, 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 pop. Yes. I know I'm so silly. Look, I'm not in a sweater this week. Though it's very cold. But I'm in the comfort of my little studio here. So I gotta try and get it out. I gotta try and get it out. um, it is raining. It's pouring like cats and dogs out there. I do love when it rains, I have to admit. But I love it more like when I don't have anything to do. I could be lazy, lazy bones, which honestly I do this like about 7 days a week. Not the podcast, I do once a week, but I do videos and I do all my social media content every single day. So it's like I'm constantly working when I'm not doing anything else. So I try and get a little bit ahead of the game so that way I can be able to have like a down day. And I've been able to do that lately. So I've been very, very excited and those me off my back. So I see that we're delaying a little bit. Because of the weather, we're having a lot of little glitches and I hate that. I'm so sorry, guys. But it is what it is. You guys love me. And you're probably just listening to me on iHeartRadio anyways. So, or on Spotify. So, um, but honestly, the one place in the world, mind you, I would never live is in Seattle. I can never live in Seattle. It's constantly raining out there, though they say it's absolutely gorgeous. I can never live there. I would be sleeping all the time. Like that's what rain does to me. It just gets me sleepy, and it's like I said, it's my movie and my popcorn time. Like I don't know if I could do that. Don't ever take me to Seattle, anybody, because I would be like, I'm not leaving this hotel. I'm not doing any of that. So, all right. So, you guys are been waiting for this one, and I could not wait to get to this episode. As we spoke last week when we were together, we just need a little cup of wine, especially for this episode. Today's episode is called Betryal. This is the continuation of the show that's constantly that there goes my oopsie for the day. That is currently on Hulu. If you would like to check that out, new one just came out. It's called the New Year's Eve Intruder. And when I tell you guys, this story is wild. It is wild. And it makes you look at guys and relationships in a whole different, like I have rose colored glasses on. Like seriously, like you can't make this shit up. Even if you want to, like, no, that can never happen. But it did. That's like this type of a situation. It's so crazy. And thank you again for the Lamar podcast yesterday. That was phenomenal. I hope you guys thank you guys for supporting me on that one. So let's get into Betryal, the New Year's Eve Intruder. This story had me in so many directions, and it really tells a story of how far someone would go in order to save a relationship, a marriage. And it's be honest when I tell you, be so the story is about Morgan and Rodney. Now, these are here we go, love story. Doo-doo-doo. They are high school sweethearts from Canton, Georgia. Morgan explained she was head over heels with Rodney. You know, Rodney came from a family of wealth, and what girl would not love that, right? But she knew that they were going to get married about 6 to 7 years into their relationship. Rodney asked Morgan to marry him. She was head over heels and it's so in love with this man that she was so excited that this was going to be her fairy tale ending. She had the best wedding, the wedding of her dreams. I don't think I've ever had that either. I don't think I've ever like been one of those and like, I'm gonna have this and this is what my dress is gonna look like, and these are gonna be the flowers. And the people are gonna sit over here and we're gonna have it in here. I don't think I've ever done that. I've always said I am definitely gonna get married, but I don't think I've had that yet. And I get tired of stuff, so I don't know how far that's gonna get. But anyways, in 2009, they were able to get married. And again, like I said, Morgan had the wedding of her dreams. It was perfect as she describes it. Her family and friends described their relationship, their marriage in the beginning as true love, that they never saw them fighting or have arguments and anything that would give them a suspicion that things were not right or things were shaky, you know? It wasn't until soon within the marriage, unfortunately, that Rodney's brother, Kevin, Kevin, passed away, and he had passed away from leukemia. This is important because it changes at this point the dynamic in Morgan and Rodney's relationship. He was so distraught, which, again, I even said it in last week's episode, losing a family member, losing a child are probably top of the two most devastating, traumatic experiences that anybody can go to. And this took a toll on Rodney. The family described Rodney as having a lot of mood swings, a lot of just being quiet and not being himself at all. Morgan herself said that, she would try and do everything that she possibly could to keep, Morgan, to keep Rodney going and kind of being like the wife slash therapist to him, to check in on him and ask him how he's doing and to get him out of the house and do certain things with him to keep him motivated. But he was in such a dark place. Times felt like it was just too hard. Um, they soon found out that Morgan was pregnant, which shift then things in the relationship with Rodney. He was over the moon, in a better place than what he was, knowing that Morgan was pregnant. And she couldn't have been in the best place in her life at this time with Rodney. She describes Rodney at this point when she becomes pregnant. She had the man that she fell in love with, her high school sweetheart. Um, and he was just the best husband during this time. Around 22 weeks of her pregnancy, they ended up finding out that the baby had a heart disease. There was a heart defect, and that the baby would end up having to have a transplant, go through all of these different medical um, things once the baby had been born. And that is devastating to anybody. With or with child, you can definitely feel that empathy and and be very sympathetic because that's your first child. This is, something that's, how could this happen? Now, Morgan states, she's like, she had a lot of faith. She, was really praying that the baby would be okay. She soon then has the baby, and then about a week later, the baby goes in for a heart transplant. But unfortunately, the baby did not survive. They did end up naming the baby after Rodney's brother, Kevin, who had passed away from leukemia. But this put another strain on their relationship. And Morgan had said, she's like, God, whatever you're going to do, if you're going to, just bless this baby, if I, if you just help this baby, be healthy, if not, um, you know, take him home with you. And that's exactly what had happened, as I said. But 3 months after that, Morgan ends up finding that she's pregnant again. And Rodney at this point, he is happy, he's excited again, and he finds out that not only were they blessed with this baby after 3 months, especially having to deal with the loss of their first child, but they were blessed with twins. So it was a dark moment that turned into a beautiful light. And Morgan was so excited. She could not believe that she was having twins. She had a baby boy and a baby girl, and they were in a good place. A couple of months go in after the babies are born, and Rodney starts down, falling again. He starts spiraling. He is moody. He, at this point, is a contractor, and he ends up getting terminated from his job. Morgan assumes because the house was paid off that everything was good. Ronnie uh, came from, a wealthy family, so she knew that he had inherited money from his grandfather, and that the house would be okay, that they would be financially okay, that there was nothing to worry about. But bam, Lord and behold, this is where the secret starts to come out. She ends up finding out that Rodney was not being honest as a guy would be, right? Rodney. And she finds out that Rodney apparently went through all that money. So now they were and the house was not fully paid off. Finances is so important. This is why you have to have control. You need to know what finances are coming in. And basically, Rodney told Morgan that he was waiting for his grandmother to pass away so that way he would inherit that money. So again, this point, Morgan is now kind of like, okay, well, things are going to be okay. Be okay. No, wrong again, sister. So what ends up happening is the grandmother passes away. She leaves nothing to Rodney. And Rodney and Morgan are now like, oh shit, we're about to lose this house. What are we gonna do? And of course, Morgan is like, okay, well, I can't just sit back, lose everything. I have two kids now. Rodney is in a dark place. He just doesn't even know what to do with his life. So Morgan's like, you know what? I'm gonna step things up as a woman would, and she ends up um starting her own design business. Kudos to you, Morgan. Designer. That's what I wanted to do at one point. I wanted to design houses and stuff. I know I can still do it. But the business ended up becoming so successful. And she was doing this with her sister, and they had more clients and more business than what they could handle. This was a great time for Morgan in her life. She had a booming business. She had the kids that she always dreamt of. She didn't lose her house. Now here comes Moby Dopey Rodney, who, because he had lost his job and he wasn't really doing anything, Morgan feels, okay, so you know what? Instead of you just, not really doing much, this is a family, you're my husband, and as any woman would do, let's make this into a whole business, and I'll hire you and you can work for us, and you'll be the handyman. So he would do certain things like, hang up curtains or build, like shelves and stuff and cabinets. And he would do all of that stuff. That's what he was responsible of. Now, this is where the story starts to get dark, okay? And psycho killer, psycho killer, okay? Like deep, deep, deep. Well, apparently, Ronnie did not like that. He had the jelly bones, right? And he was like, I don't want to be no handyman. So he was purposely sabotaging projects. Like the sister was like in the documentary, she was like, he would do stupid stuff like, if he had curtains to measure, like the curtains would come up short, and that was like your only job. It made no sense. And then what he would do is he would try to gaslight Morgan and blame it on her, saying that that's not what she told him, and that, if she would have explained it properly, then it would have came out better. And these arguments that were building and building and building and building, and she started to realize at some point that, okay, I'm getting gaslit here by my own husband. My husband is actually jealous that I didn't just sit back and not do anything. He's supposed to be the sole provider, and I'm the one that's making the business, that's doing well. And you don't like being the handyman. You want to be the boss. And this is my company. No way, Jose. So at some point, they're having this argument, as she describes in the documentary. They're going up the stairs. Now, here comes drama queen Rodney, okay? And she says in the documentary, they're going up the stairs. At one point, like, she has her back turned to him. So it's like, let's say it's me and then it's him back here, right? All of a sudden, she turns around and Rodney falls down the stairs. I can only that's all I can imagine, like, at this point. The kids start running in and they're like, "Daddy, Daddy." And then Ronnie turns to the kids and he's like, "Mommy pushed me down the stairs. Are you kidding me right now? Like, are we doing this right now, Rodney?" Rodney, no, no. I'm gonna need you to take like 2 steps back because this is not cute. Like, you can't be a victim to your own shit. Like, seriously. Morgan um is just overwhelmed. These fights continue to get worse. He then at some point starts video recording her to make her look crazy. And he starts arguments with her. And it's just gaslighting, gaslighting, gaslighting. And to the point where she says, "You know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I have my own business. I can't be in this situation. My kids, this is just it's so." So Morgan files for a divorce from Rodney. Now here comes Rodney. He's all like, out his ass and shit. And he cannot accept the divorce. He doesn't want to do it. And she's like, "No, this marriage is over. I can't do it." Her family and her siblings are very proud of her because she was able to walk away and accept the fact that, this is a hard decision. And most women stay in relationships like this because they have kids. But the fact that you're walking away and you know what your worth value is, this shows how much of a strong woman you are. And it changed her life completely. It made her feel stronger as a woman. Um, by December of 2020, the divorce had been finalized at this point. And she ends up going to Florida for a trip. And when she gets back, she gets an email from Rodney. And Rodney in this email attaches a medical letter. In the medical letter, it says that Rodney has 4th-stage cancer and he's going to die. Now, I would have done it. Any woman would have done it. Any man, if the roles were reversed, would have done it. You see something like this, it's a documentation that's coming from the doctor's office. Your heart drops. This is not someone that you met, that you were in a relationship for a year, you had kids with them. This was your high school sweetheart, vice versa. If it would have been the other way around, I think anybody would have reacted in the same way that she did. And she took him in. He was staying with her for about a week. And, there had been conversations between him and the family and, his family not knowing that he had cancer. And around New Year's Eve, this is when it's all starts to go down here. New Year's Eve comes around, and Morgan's parents come over, and they say to Rodney, they're like, hey, you know, I guess they're questioning him at this point about this cancer and why the parents don't know. And they inadvertently say to him, you know, I think it's time. And it's gone long enough where your parents need to know that you have stage 4 cancer. And we're going to call them. This upsets Rodney. And he gets very upset. He leaves the house. He storms off. And now, mind you, this is New Year's Eve. And they can't fathom what happens because, his parents should know what's happening to him. Later on in that day, after her parents leave, being that it was Eve, she didn't want to be alone. And she ends up going out with her friends and her sister. She gets a text message from Rodney. Now here comes Opie Dopey Rodney again. And he's like, would love to, do New Year's at the drop of the ball with you. And she's like, no, I'm actually tired. I'm gonna go to my parents' house. So he's like, okay, all right, whatever. Morgan, for whatever reason, doesn't end up going to her parents' house. She ends up going home. Her kids are in Florida with, I believe it was her grandmother, or with friends or someone, because they had wanted to see them. And it's getting late. The ball drops. Nothing is out of place or out of sorts in any way. And all of a sudden, she gets into bed, and she said, "Wait." It's like she kind of like, when you're in bed and you're kind of like you're on your side or whatever, and you turn, in a different position. She sees a man, this dark figure, with all dressed in black, all of a sudden at her dorm. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, okay? This is exactly why I close my door in my own house, okay? Because if a killer is trying to kill me or he's going to get to me, he's going to have to break down my door first. And then by that point, I'm going to be out my window, okay? And you ain't going to get me. I have all types of shit in my house, okay? I will make sure that you will be dead before you can even like rape me, kidnap me. Oh no. 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 There's all types of cameras. So don't even think about it twice. Cause like the way they make these cameras these days. Okay. I mean, she, her, nope. Listen, you can take the girl out of the Bronx, but you can't take the Bronx out of the girls. What that say? Okay. No. Absolutely not. So she sees the man in the doorway. First mistake again. Always close your door, lock it up, throw away the key. And now he begins to attack her. He's hitting her. He's strangling her. He hits her with a gun about 6 times in her eye. He's choking her to the point where she is going to pass out. He sexually assaults her. And this is where now we're gonna start going downhill, guys. He's talking to her at some point, and she notices that his voice is disguised, and it sounds almost like Batman. It's like that deep of a voice, so good, you know. And she gets to the point where he's strangling her, and she just gives up. Like she has no more energy at this point. The clip's over. He zip ties her arms on her back. Then he puts a pillowcase around her face. He then says to her, "Where's your phone?" And she says to him, "It has to be somewhere on the bed." She's like me. She's that type of girl. I always have my phone next to me in my bed. Okay. Now, the only that's gonna screw me up in life is that it's coded. So if someone tries to come get me, I gotta make sure that I have that pin number like on point so that I can get into my phone. Because if not, oh, we gotta think of different options here. So I might want to practice one day. Um, so he buys her, he asks her for the passcode. She gives it to him, of course, and then he pulls her up off of the bed, and he takes her to the back porch. He tells her, whatever you do not make a sound. Stay here. You're going to hear two sounds, and then that's when you can move. She never hears the sound. At this point, Morgan is trying to survive, and she is just holding on to her faith and hope and whatever it is that is going through your mind. Now mind you can't see, so you don't know if this person is still in front of you, if they've left. You don't know, because all you're doing is waiting for the sound. So that has been the most scary thing for her in her life, right? All of a sudden she starts to hear footsteps. So now this is freaking her out, right? And she hears Rodney say, Morgan, are you all right? So now this is where it would have been suspicious to me, because I would be like, what the fuck are you doing here? And to come back here. You see, I'm too much of a crime person for any of this to kind of scapegoat me. So he takes off the pillowcase. He cuts off the zip lines. He calls the cops. Now the cops come, and now they're doing their investigation. And Morgan tells the cops all the stories, the whole to the story of what happened and what actually the attack and all of this stuff, right? So now the cops are like, okay, all right, let's speak to Rodney. let's get Rodney's story, because yeah, I need to know what Rodney knows. So the cops are now like, all right, how did you get here? Like, how did you know to come at this time, like over to the house? Okay, first of all, I told you they really need to create a not so smart crime for dummies kind of a book, because this is where I knew this was just all bad. This is all bad. Okay. He says to the cops, I was brushing my teeth and I heard a tap 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 on the window, and I couldn't recognize the voice or whatever, but it said Morgan. And I don't know, something just was like, I felt like she was in danger. And I came over to the house, and then this is where I found her. And the cops are like, what the fuck? That doesn't even make any sense. I was like, listen, I didn't have to be there. That shit did not make any sense. Okay. That did not make any sense to me. So if I was on Crime Watchers, I would have definitely agreed with that. So they were like, this doesn't make any sense, because Morgan straight up told you earlier in the day that she was going to be at her parents' house. So you weren't even supposed to be at this house. You should have went to the parents' house. This is where the lie starts to crumble down. Like, see, this is why my girl Judge Judy said you gotta be smart if you're gonna lie, because you gotta remember the lie in order to keep up this facade. And they had enough where they could arrest Rodney. They ended up getting a search warrant for Rodney's car, for Rodney's home, Rodney's phone. Now in Georgia, it is illegal to go through somebody's phone. And what ended up happening was is that the cops went through, before they arrested Rodney, which I kind of jumped over real quick. They wanted to look at Rodney's phone. So he gave them their phone, and they saw pictures. He's such an idiot. He also had pictures of her phone, and then of her sleeping. And they were like, they go to Morgan, they're like, did you authorize him? So she's like, no. Apparently he had been in the house before and took pictures. He went snappity snap snap while she was sleeping, took pictures of her phone. Because he did this, it invaded her privacy. So they were able to arrest him on this. As soon as they get over to Rodney's house, now keep in mind, like as I said before, they had a warrant for everything, his laptop, everything. They ended up finding in his laptop, never Google, guys. I told you, don't Google anything. He had searched how to suffocate somebody before they pass out. They found zip ties in his house because he went to her house instead of throwing out the evidence, so they were still in his house. Then he did not go to Home Depot, which was the smartest thing, but he did go to Lowe's. He went to Lowe's and they had him on camera. And guys, if you're going to commit a crime, what did I say? Do not order anything online. Do not go to Lowe's. Do not go to Home Depot. You went to the obvious places. You used your laptop. You used your phone. Like, you're just incriminating yourself at this point. So, and they, of course, everything linked back to him. They ended up, he admitted while he was there that he never had cancer. Okay. He was just trying to guilt trip her to get back with him. What a loser. Oh my God. Like, you got to be like Psycho 101. Like, you were straight from Silence of the Lambs. Like, like, it was crazy when I say, okay. He ended up on January 3rd. Rodney ended up with charges of home invasion, aggravated assault, kidnapping, and burglary charges. He received a 70-year sentence with the first 25 years of custody. So he will be out in 25 years. And he has a no contact order with for his wife, for his ex-wife Morgan, and for his kids. So all of this, and on top of this, I forgot to mention, he also they found the book in Rodney's house. What was the name of the book? They found the book, How to Be a Hero. That's the name of the book. How to Be a Hero? What? Just be a straight up guy. Like, you don't have to do all of this. Oh my God. And they asked him to, by the way, oh my God. They were like, well, what was up with, they also found in his lap, like, how to disguise your voice. See, this is what I'm saying. You cannot be like word searching shit. And if you're going to do that, erase your search engine. People, he just tried to come out and say to the cops, like, nah, I love that movie Dark Knight with Batman. I like the voice, so I wanted that whole that deep voice. You idiot. This is exactly why you got caught. All right, guys. So if you want to see Betrayal, the New Year's Eve Intruder, it is on Hulu right now. You can watch it. So I hope you enjoy this episode, this wild roller coaster of a episode. And I will see you guys next week. And stay safe out there. What's when it watch when you sleep. It's like you're sleeping with the enemy. Oh my God. All right. Love you guys. Mwah. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye.